My name is Andrew Michler. Welcome to a presentation on AB Passive House Plus, which is a project that is near completion in Colorado. Principal of Hyperlocal Workshop based in Colorado, and we primarily work with residential and zero foam projects. This off-grid project is right in the foothills of Colorado. As I said, near completion, so you can tell by the photos. Right along the Front Range, about 2 mountains in from Fort Collins, Loveland area. The site is mountainous and treed and actually quite flat on the building site itself. So we were able to put quite a flat linear project down. And with the framing, what we're achieving to do is simplify it with a foundation system that's suspended. And that means that we have a crawl space, and we can use cellulose for the floor system and the wall system and the roof system. We're using a 2x6 wall frame that goes all the way down to the footings, and the outside are Larson trusses. And in fact, we ended up making this little how-to slide. Site has some rocks right behind the house. In fact, we're taking advantage of that by putting a bridge in to get over the roof to the house. Here's a rendering of that, what that bridge will look like, and the relationship with the trees and mountainside around it. The floor plan's quite open. It's 3 bedrooms. The main bedroom is lifted about 4 feet up above the main floor for privacy. As far as our energy modeling, the form factor is actually 4.5, but we have good solar gain in Colorado, and with a lot of aggressive shading to the southwest. And so construction begins on site. It was actually a pretty good dig. Foundation went in. It took some effort to get concrete crews up, but went fairly smoothly from there. It does still feel that we're putting a little too much concrete in these houses. They still feel a little over-engineered, in my opinion, and that's something that I'd like to target further, is the reduction of concrete. We did institute earth tubes into the project, about 300 linear feet of them for the ERV. That's also the cooling system. Here we're putting in the solar system for temporary to power the build. Basically, we're using nickel batteries and a traditional Outback solar inverter system. So the framing can be actually off-grid, which is very quiet, no generators needed. What we're doing is keeping the floor off of the foundation wall, so the foundation wall is actually a stem wall. Underneath is a generous crawl space to make it easier to get around. When you first get the framing in, it's nice to feel kind of the sketched effect of what the house is going to be. Here's the crew overlooking a good day of framing, and it's nice to get the feeling of how it works within the environment, especially in relationship with the rocks and the sun and everything. That foundation detail and that air tightness detail is a typical taped OSB layer to the 2x6 wall, and then outboard is all of our insulation, which is going into these 16-inch Larson truss cavities. We did have some sequencing issues that I think that should have been recertified. We need to make sure that we don't cover up our air barrier before we do proper testing, which happened here, unfortunately. But we were able to do quite a bit of air barrier work inside as well without disrupting the construction on the outside. As the windows go in, we're getting close to a complete thermal envelope as far as the air barrier is concerned. Windows are really heavy. These are from Wythe, based in New Jersey. There's a detail of one of the installs before it's overframed with the siding. Our first air test, we actually came in over about 1.3 ACH 50. So we had a lot to hunt down for air leaks. So we often use smoke. Doesn't take a hole. You can't even see the hole, but you can see smoke coming through it. Sometimes the framers get a little zealous. sometimes even small tape details like right here where it goes through, air can come through. So we ended up using aero barrier at the end of the day to get a 0.11 ACH 50 is where they're able to get it down pressurized to. Now it's time for installation. Lots of cellulose insulation. The owners actually installed it themselves. We used about a truck's worth, 30,000 pounds. And you put it in any way you can. You can get quite creative because you always have more insulation to put in. Mechanical rooms. What we're looking at is basically a hot water condensing heater combo and water, domestic hot water. There's the Zender that just got installed or is in process of being installed. It's going to be connected directly to the earth tubes. That's going to be our solar electric hot water tank that we use for excess solar energy, and then some of the extra plumbing for the hydronic system. We have 4 actual zones to the space. So we have 3 that are for the bathrooms and 1 for the main living area, and then a post heater is going onto the Zender unit. Most of the building is clad with a standing seam metal, which is quite dynamic in the way it changes light. It's very clean, very good for water catchment as well, which is what this is being utilized for this house. That went quite well. Inside, here's the owner with her dog, and she really insisted on really thick walls, so we ended up not insulating the 2x6 wall inside to save time. So it's just on the Larson truss, which gives her a great sitting space. On the outside, we're actually using cork to the south side. It smells incredible. It's very much an ode to the idea of the house being very low carbon. Gives also a softness to the outside, especially where you're interfaced with the house where the sun is. To our great delight, it also doesn't overheat in the summertime. So it'd be exciting to see how it changes color and wears over time, but it's fun to always try new products. The windows inside, just about done, so we got good cross ventilation throughout the house. The interior space is really taking shape now. It's becoming, if it's a small space, I really believe that having a dynamic volume really helps the critical idea of making it feel much larger than it actually is. And of course, clustering the windows to the south, they're well shaded, but they give great view. So there's a sense of transparency right into the outdoors. Very happy with how that came together. Here's some details of some of the materiality coming together where you interface with the building. It's quite rich. This is where the rain catchment part of the roof needs to separate from the garage. It also provides, that gap also provides some natural light in what would be a very dark vestibule between the garage and the house on the north side of the building. So here we are looking north to the peak of the mountain there. The garage itself was very critical as far as part of the design. Almost put, it feels like, as much design effort into the architecture of the garage as we did to the house to make it really feel like it doesn't overwhelm the house itself. Again, here's the windows facing to the south and west in the bedroom up above. A very private but incredible view down to the valley and down to Denver. And here is the finished project as far as the exterior is concerned. A lot of detail and thought went into how the building is going to integrate with this particular very beautiful and pristine landscape. Of course, there is quite a bit of disruption when we build, so that's always a tension between the disruption of the architecture and how it can actually perhaps add a very comfortable and relevant feeling to the landscape itself.